Okay, folks, many people ask me what is the tribe of Dan and who were they? Well, they were the warring Vikings people. They were also the Homdabu, Viking lineage of Pharaoh. So I'm going to let you see this video that I got. Enjoy, and I think you'll like it. And so, yeah, leave your comments below if you have any questions. I know quite a bit about this subject, so yeah.
What hymn did the ruling family sing on William's wedding day in Westminster Abbey? The flag-waving public were too hypnotized by the fairy tale media hype to even question why a hymn called Jerusalem was featured at William's wedding. Here are the main lyrics of the hymn. Why are the ruling families singing about the fight to build Jerusalem at William's wedding of the century? The answer lies in the UK's Union Jack flag. No one has bothered to question why the Union Jack flag is called the Union Jack. Who is Jack? The answer is Jack-Ub. Jack-Ub, or Jacob, is the patriarch of the Jews. According to biblical scripture, Jacob laid his head on a stone and dreamt about a ladder reaching to heaven. The stone is said to be the same stone that has been placed between the throne chair of every British monarch during their coronation ceremony. It's called the Stone of Jacob. The Stone of Jacob will also be placed beneath William's throne chair when he is crowned king. Most of us were taught revisionist history in school. To make sense out of what's going on in the world today, we need to learn a few simple facts about Israel's history without the revisions. According to the Bible story, Jacob fathered 12 Hebrew sons who invaded the land of Canaan. Canaan was the homeland of the Philistine people. After defeating the Philistines, the 12 Hebrew tribes carved up the land of Canaan into 12 tribal districts. They renamed the land of Canaan Israel, Israel, after their gods, Isis, Amun-Ra, and Elohim. By 69 AD, Roman soldiers burned the city of Jerusalem to the ground and destroyed the Hebrew Temple of Solomon. All that remained of the Jewish temple was a wall, which still stands today in the city of Jerusalem. After the 12 Hebrew tribes fled from the land of Canaan, which they had renamed Israel, the Romans gave the land back to the Philistines and called it Palestine. Palestine was the Romanized word for Philistine. Today, the descendants of the Philistines are the Palestinians of Palestine. Where did the 12 tribes of Israel go after they fled from the land they had renamed Israel? The serpent tribe of Dan became seafaring pirates. They emblazoned the symbols of the snake and dragon on their red and white flag, together with the crest of an eagle. According to Bible prophecy, the Antichrist will descend from the tribe of Dan. Carvings of snakes and dragons on their ships, the red and white stripes on their sails, and archaeological relics reveal that the tribe of Dan became the dreaded Vikings. These ferocious seafaring pirates raped, burned, and looted their way up the coast of Europe into the British Isles, incorporating the name of their tribal leader Dan into towns and rivers along their migration route, like the mighty river Danube and the Jordan River. Since vowels were interchangeable in the original Hebrew language, Dan could be pronounced Din, Don, or Den. It was embedded in the name London, Scandinavia, Sweden, and Denmark. Denmark literally means the mark of Dan. By 1016 AD, the Viking king Canute seized the throne of England, Denmark, and Sweden. Today's British royalty are descended from the serpent tribe of Dan and from the Viking kings whose symbol is the dragon. Prince Charles' coat of arms displays a red dragon and the German words Ich dien, which means I serve. I serve the red dragon. I serve Satan. Prince William's coat of arms also features a red dragon, which is partially hidden by a 3-point white label. Notice the checkered floor beneath William's wedding guests, which is a known symbol of Freemasonry. Rowan Williams, the Archbishop who married William and Kate, is a confirmed Druid member. Druid ceremonies include pagan sun worship in stone circles. Notice the sun symbolism on the back of the Archbishop's robe. Prince William and the British royal family claim descent from King David and the Jewish tribe of Judah, but the evidence shows they are descended from the tribe of Dan and the Viking kings, whose symbols are the snake and dragon. It took nearly 1,000 years for the tribes of Israel to reunite after fleeing from Jerusalem in 70 AD. They reunited in the British Isles under the flag of their Jewish patriarch, Jacob, or Jacob. It took another 1,000 years for the Jewish tribes to reclaim the land that the Romans had given back to the Philistines. How did they do it? In 1917, the British Earl of Balfour signed the Balfour Declaration, promising to give the nation of Palestine to Lord Rothschild and the Jewish Zionists. This criminal declaration was made even before the British had conquered the nation of Palestine at the end of World War I. During World War II, American corporations supplied gas, money, vehicles, and weaponry to Hitler and the Nazis. By the end of World War II, the British conquered and turned the Muslim nation of Palestine over to the Rothschild Zionists as promised. The Zionists populated the land with boatloads of Jewish refugees from Nazi concentration camps. By 1948, the name of the Muslim nation of Palestine was officially changed to the Jewish state of Israel. According to Jewish historian and best-selling author Simon Schama, the Rothschild Zionists financed illegal settlements on Palestinian land. They now own 80% of the Palestinian land that they renamed Israel. What is a Zionist? Zionists are a minority of Christian and Jewish extremists who believe that the Jews have a God-given right to the land of Israel. Why? Because according to the Judeo-Christian Bible, God said so. But wouldn't that make God a racist God who favors Jews over all others? How big is the Promised Land? God's Promised Land to the Jews extends far beyond the borders of present-day Israel. It includes Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, half of Iraq, half of Egypt, parts of Turkey and Saudi Arabia, the modern state of Israel, as well as the West Bank and Gaza. The 9/11 attack on the World Trade Center in New York City served as the perfect excuse to justify bombing, occupying, disarming, and bankrupting Israel's Muslim neighbors. It also scared hundreds of billions of tax dollars out of traumatized American citizens. 9/11 was a Zionist false flag operation. Within 24 hours of the attack, America launched a Blame the Muslims campaign that ignited the Zionist war of terror on the Muslim nations surrounding Israel. Ultimately, the grand scheme of the Zionist plot is to reclaim Jerusalem and rebuild Solomon's temple, which was destroyed by the Romans almost 2,000 years ago. Today, Israel's Jews pray at the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem, which is all that remains of Solomon's temple. The design and cornerstones for the new Solomon's temple have already been completed.
Every day, 3 times a day, Jews recite this prayer. May it be your will that the temple be speedily rebuilt in our own time. It's a prayer they prayed for almost 2,000 years.
But Jews here in Jerusalem are doing more than just praying. Just a few steps away from the Western Wall, rabbis and craftsmen are building what they call a temple in waiting.
We're supposed to build a temple, and nothing about that changed. Nothing about that commandment changed.
Chaim Richman is a director at the Temple Institute in Jerusalem.
The Temple Institute is actively engaged in research and preparation for the resumption of the service in the Holy Temple, to the extent of actually preparing operational blueprints for the construction of the temple according to the most modern standards.
This menorah is just one of several vessels created for the next temple. It's covered with 95 pounds of pure gold and has a price tag of $2 million.
Piece by piece, the third temple is taking shape, with priest garments, vessels of copper, gold, and silver, and a new generation of Levite priests, specially trained for temple service.
We have enough in place now to resume the divine service and to build the temple. But obviously, a lot of things have to happen in order for this to happen.
Gershon Solomon leads a group called the Temple Mount Faithful. They commissioned these cornerstones for the third temple. The 6-ton stones were consecrated with water from the biblical pool of Siloam and cut with diamonds.
The Temple Mount, 35 acres of it, is the most explosive piece of territory on the face of the planet.
Jewish leaders have already established a training center in Jerusalem, where temple priests are now learning how to offer the required animal blood sacrifices and to conduct the daily temple services.
Now, of course, there's limits on exactly what sacrifices we can do because of the state of impurity that we're in. Some sacrifices we can't do without the ashes of the red heifer, but the Passover offering, national sacrifices we can perform in a state of impurity.
So what's stopping the Zionist Jews from rebuilding Solomon's temple? What's stopping them is a Muslim shrine called Dome of the Rock, which was built in 691 AD, right over the top of the ruins of Solomon's temple. It is one of the world's holiest Muslim sites. This sacred real estate is, without a doubt, the most dangerous real estate on planet Earth. The Muslim Dome of the Rock is the elephant in the room. The Zionist plan to rebuild Solomon's temple on sacred ground must, by necessity, be a plan that reduces the Muslim Dome of the Rock to rubble. Building Solomon's temple means the Muslim shrine must fall, either by a natural disaster like an earthquake, or a man-made disaster like an exploding bomb. A man-made disaster would surely be the spark that ignites World War III.
When a British monarch is crowned, an elaborate ceremony takes place which resembles the ritual crowning of King Solomon of ancient Israel. King Solomon ruled over ancient Israel and had extensive knowledge of the Kabbalah, which he used to communicate with demons. King Solomon is the single most important figure in the occult teachings of World International Freemasonry. The ancient Goetia is a book of powerful invocations and spells written by King Solomon. These ancient spells and evocations were used to summon spirits who were then psychically tortured and forced to serve King Solomon. The Goetia contains descriptions of 72 demons, some of whom controlled their own army of lesser demons. King Solomon evoked and imprisoned these spirits in a bronze vessel sealed using magic symbols. Explains how the spirits can be compelled into obedience. The Goetia describes a demonic royal hierarchy of spirits, many of which are referred to as knights, princes, and kings. King Solomon ruled ancient Israel from the year 970 to 928 BC. Satanists, occultists, and Freemasons worldwide venerate the memory of King Solomon, who owned a magic ring engraved with a symbol called the Seal of Solomon. This gave him power over the invisible monarchy of demons. This Seal of Solomon is better known as the Star of David. It is this symbol which is encoded into the $1 bill. It is also the flag of Israel. Magicians and mediums who consult with spirits have always been employed by the royal elite. In medieval Britain, Dr. John Dee was consulted regularly by Queen Elizabeth I. At the British Museum in London, we see the dark mirror which John Dee used to see or scry the faces of spirits. Dee's ability to communicate with spirits led him to be employed as a spy, developing psychic espionage techniques, which we now call remote viewing. John Dee attended Trinity College in Cambridge, which became a place where occultists and the world of spies were intertwined. Aleister Crowley also attended Trinity College. In 1904, he wrote an introduction to an ancient book of spells called the Goetia. Soon after, Aleister Crowley followed the footsteps of John Dee and worked as a spy for Her Majesty's Secret Intelligence Service, MI5. Dr. John Dee was secretly initiated into the secrets of the Kabbalah by Rabbi Lowe in the 1500s. The Kabbalah offers a route map which is called the Tree of Life. Discarnate spirits, some angelic, some evil, occupy each point on the Tree of Life. These spirits can be called forth and invoked to serve the magician. Medieval astrologers and Kabbalists such as John Dee were hired by monarchs to plan their wars or to experiment with alchemy, trying to transform base metals into gold and thus increase the already spectacular wealth of the monarchy.
Once World War III has come and gone and the Muslim shrine has been destroyed, The new Jewish temple of King Solomon will be built over its ruins in Jerusalem, and a king will sit on the throne chair. There are three important texts that predict an apocalyptic Third World War, which would give rise to one world empire and one world king. The Bible's Book of Revelation, the Illuminati's Protocols of Zion, and Albert Pike's Morals and Dogma. A statue of Albert Pike stands today on a pedestal in Washington, D.C. What did Albert Pike do to deserve a statue in his honor on federal land at the foot of Capitol Hill? Albert Pike was the sovereign pontiff of Universal Freemasonry and a known Satanist who possessed a bracelet which he used to summon Lucifer. After the American Civil War, he was imprisoned for treason, but thanks to Freemason President Andrew Johnson, Pike was pardoned. By 1869, Pike had become the National Chief Judiciary Officer and Grand Dragon of the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan in Arkansas. By 1871, he published the Masonic handbook known as Morals and Dogma. Albert Pike was also the author of a military formula for 3 world wars that would advance the world government agenda to its final stage in the 21st century. World War I, said Pike, must be engineered to overthrow the Tsars of Russia and make Russia a fortress of atheistic communism. World War II must be engineered to destroy Nazism, strengthen political Zionism, and create a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. World War III must exploit the conflicts between the Zionist state of Israel and the Islamic states so that they mutually destroy each other. Divided and exhausted by war, the masses will receive the light of Lucifer brought finally out into the open. Albert Pike's vision for World War III is now taking shape in the Middle East, where the engineered conflicts between the Zionist state of Israel and the Islamic nations are coming to a head. Proof of a world government conspiracy is uncovered on our Seeing is Believing tour of 5 U.S. cities, starting with Denver, Colorado. Denver, Colorado is home to America's largest airport called the Denver New World Airport. The airport was built by Freemasons in 1995 and features a Freemasonic dedication capstone in the atrium. A time capsule is buried underneath the stone to be opened in the year 2094. The New World Denver Airport has a swastika-shaped runway. There is reportedly a deep underground military base beneath the airport, with miles and miles of secret subterranean tunnels connected to a large network of underground cities. As passengers drive up to the main airport terminal, they are greeted by a sinister-looking 32-foot-high fiberglass blue stallion, with veins popping out of its body and demonic eyes that glow bright red. Not exactly a calming influence for travelers who are already spooked about getting on a plane. The sculpture is believed to symbolize the pale horse of the apocalypse mentioned in the Bible, whose name is Death. The sculptor, Luis Jimenez, was killed by the horse when a chunk of the sculpture broke loose and came crashing down on him. Locals call the horse Lucifer. Inside the airport, travelers hurry past grotesque gargoyles in suitcases that leer down at them, and morbid apocalyptic murals that line the airport walls at the main gate. 4 panels of giant-sized wall murals in the baggage claim area tell a terrifying and prophetic story in pictures of how humanity's future is going to unfold. The first mural reveals a horrific Darth Vader-like figure wearing a Nazi general uniform and a gas mask. The gas mask indicates that the next war will use depopulating biological or chemical agents. The white dove that he is killing symbolizes peace. On the right are destroyed buildings reminiscent of the Twin Towers. The Nazi general's scimitar sword has been swished through the air, leaving behind a rainbow chemtrail that poisons the air and ethnic population below it. On the left is an endless line of weeping women refugees holding dead babies. There is no trace whatsoever of violence to the dead children, who appear to have died from the deadly gas of the toxic rainbow. Why are there no men present? Presumably, they have all been killed. The Nazi general's scimitar sword that destroys peace is a symbol used by the Shriners, who are Freemasons. Freemasonry is a fraternity within a fraternity. Outwardly, it is a friendly charitable organization that conceals an inner brotherhood of the 33rd degree elect. The next airport mural shows a forest and a city in flames. The world's endangered animals and plants are extinct. Buffaloes, whales, leopards, elephants, and sea turtles. The sickly haze and leaping flames suggest a nuclear or biochemical devastation. Children are the only survivors, and they are weeping over 3 open caskets of an African girl on the left, a native girl in the center, and a white Judeo-Christian girl on the right. They represent the death of the old black, red, and white root races to make way for the new world race. The dead white girl in the coffin holds a Bible and a yellow Judan star, which was used by the Nazis to identify Jews. It symbolizes the death of Judeo-Christian beliefs. Another child holds a Mayan tablet depicting the end of the Mayan calendar and the end of the world as we know it. In the third mural, the apocalyptic war has ended. Children of all nations are joyfully giving up their nation's sovereignty to the blonde-haired, blue-eyed German boy at the center. They are all turning over their weapons wrapped in their country's national flag to the German boy. The Bavarian jacket leaves no doubt whatsoever that the blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy is German. He symbolizes the Bavarian Illuminati. With an iron fist, the German boy destroys the weapons of war symbolized by the Nazi general's sword. The German boy uses a hammer, which symbolizes the hammer and sickle of communism. In the foreground, the Nazi general is dead, with doves of peace perched on his corpse. The German boy symbolizes a world leader and savior who brings peace through communism to a devastated world. Who is this boy that the world gives up their flags and weapons to? We know he is German, with blonde hair and blue eyes, like Prince William, who posed as a boy for this Papua New Guinea stamp. Prince William's father is the son of Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth, whose surnames were changed to cover up their German identities. Prince William's mother, Diana, was allegedly the daughter of James Goldsmith, a German Jew. In the fourth mural, the earth is restored, including the endangered species, the land and water. This future world is populated not by adults, but by parentless children. What happened to the adults? The children are in a dance line that is led by the Scottish boy who symbolizes Scottish Rite Freemasonry. Also, on the far left is an African woman carrying a snake banner. The parentless children of the world are celebrating the New World religion as they gather around and touch the light of Lucifer, who appears as a genetically engineered plant. The plant is a floral version of the colorful bird known as the Quetzalcoatl, or feathered serpent. It is symbolically inseparable from the morning star and Lucifer. The main theme of the Denver New World Airport murals is an apocalypse, with massive depopulation, extinction of species, the death of Judeo-Christian beliefs, and the birth of one world government, one world ruler, and one world religion. The next stop on our Seeing is Believing tour is Charlotte, North Carolina, where the headquarters of America's largest bank is located, the Bank of America. Here, we find more eerie, bone-chilling paintings describing the apocalyptic story of humanity's future in pictures. 3 prophetic frescoes are prominently displayed in the Bank of America's main lobby. Like the Denver murals, they tell a symbolic story which is understood by those in the know. In the first mural, the central figure is a blue-eyed, blonde-haired German boy wearing a Nazi overcoat, clicking his heels together and standing at attention on the checkerboard floor that is a classic symbol of Freemasonry. Who is he? He is the same boy found in the Denver Airport mural, but he is older in this continuation mural. Notice the phallic hand gesture in the comparison photo of the young, blonde-haired, blue-eyed Prince William. Similarly, the boy in the mural has a subliminal erect phallus on his Nazi overcoat, symbolizing power. By erasing the boy's right arm, it becomes clear that the flames of the burning bush are shaped like a hand, and the bush itself is shaped like an arm that is positioned at the boy's shoulder. It now becomes obvious that the German boy is making a straight-arm Nazi salute. Prince William's Knight of the Garter crest is a gold lion. The image of the gold lion is subliminally embedded into the blonde hair of the German boy in the mural. Notice the Egyptian pyramid and black sun behind him. The second fresco in the Bank of America's lobby is an apocalyptic concentration camp where resistors are incarcerated. In the background, industrial burning suggests a crematorium. The back and side wall are strung with barbed wire. Hazmat Marines carrying rifles are seen in the crowd with their Nazi gold eagle and flags. Notice the person wearing the white hazard protection gear. The hazard protection gear symbolizes a pandemic, biochemical, or nuclear warfare. This is the same apocalyptic theme found in the Denver mural, in which the Nazi general is wearing a gas mask. Overhead, the elite are hovering and celebrating like gods, circling free and naked in their wealth and power. They are energized by the chaos below, where the world population is trapped in their net. All races and creeds are caught in the net of riots and protests, including a Catholic bishop, a nun, and a handcuffed man. The protest signs are blank, implying they have no voice. The street signs are also blank, implying there is nowhere to go. The last fresco has a mission accomplished theme. It illustrates the post-apocalyptic rebuilding era that creates order out of chaos. The red dragon in human form is etched into the hillside at the top of the fresco. He sleeps peacefully while the miners serve him. These miners are a reminder of the internationally televised Chilean mine disaster and rescue in 2010. 33 miners were rescued in a ceremonial raising of the phoenix, The ritual was an announcement to 33rd degree Masons that Lucifer is rising. The date of the rescue ritual was October 13th, 2010, which is 13-10-10. 13-10-10 adds up to 33. Where did the Chilean president travel to the day after the rescue ritual? Buckingham Palace. He personally delivered a mine rock to the Queen that had been raised from the mine as a symbol of the risen phoenix.
This president has met the Queen at London's Buckingham Palace.
I brought a gift for you. This is a piece of rock that was brought by a miner.
Sebastian Pinera presented the monarch with a souvenir from the San Jose mine, where 33 of his countrymen were trapped for 69 days. Mr. Pinera, who was given 33 bottles of real ale by David Cameron, said the rock was brought up by the second miner to be rescued.
The prophetic murals that are featured at America's largest airport and America's largest bank express a New World Order agenda that is hidden in plain sight. The giant images on display for all to see are designed to be understood only by a few. The commission murals share common themes: an apocalypse, a new world order, and a central figure who is a blonde-haired, blue-eyed German boy. The next stop on our Seeing is Believing tour is Ellerton, Georgia.
Next, we turn to the town of Elberton, Georgia, the granite capital of the world. Elberton is famous for its production of tombstones, exporting some 250,000 tombstones every year. Oddly enough, the town that makes a living through death is also the home of what some consider the most threatening monument in America. A monument that some believe is a symbol for the coming Holocaust, promoting a depopulation effort at a massive scale.
It was back in 1979 when a stranger came to Elberton, Georgia. Now, Elberton, Georgia is on the eastern part of Georgia, very close to the South Carolina border. And this stranger said that he was part of a secret group, and they wanted to build a great granite monument.
This was done by a guy who gave a pseudonym, came in, paid cash, had this company set these things up in 1980, called himself R.C. Christian. That's not his real name. It says it right on the stones, a pseudonym.
Nobody knows his real name because that isn't his real name. Nobody knows who put the money up other than this fictional individual. Nobody knows what secret group he represents. Of course, Elberton mines granite. They make tombstones there. And they have the facilities to mine the granite. But he gave very, very specific directions as to how this was to be built, so that it would always be aligned in certain ways, so you'd always be able to see the North Star, so it would be aligned with the moon and with the various phases of the sun. And very, very similar to the Stonehenge that they have in England. So the Stonehenge was a Druidic monument. This was to be the American Stonehenge, or it's known as the Georgia Guidestones. And on each one of the Guidestones is this message in a different language, actually 8 different languages. Are the 10 commandments that come from the dark side. And the first one is maintain the world population at 500 million in constant balance with nature, which doesn't sound too bad until you realize that we've got over 6 billion people in the world. And if we're going to maintain the world population at 500 million in constant balance with nature, we're going to have to kill off about 90% or more of the world's population.
Like the Masonic dedication stone at Denver Airport, which has a time capsule buried beneath it, the Georgia Guidestones also feature a capstone with a time capsule buried beneath it. New York City is the next stop on our Seeing is Believing tour. The world's largest cathedral is a New York City landmark called St. John the Divine. It was built with funding from the Grand Master of the Masons of the state of New York. Using the art style of the grotesque, this sculpture next to the cathedral features sun worship, bizarre mythical creatures, and the upside-down head of Satan. There is a John Lennon quote that says, "One day the world will live as one." On the western facade of the cathedral, stonemasons have sculpted a chilling depiction of the collapse of the Twin Towers and the destruction of New York City and its landmarks. This scene was created in 1997, 4 years before the destruction of the Twin Towers on 9/11. Other recognizable skyscrapers are the Chrysler Building and the Citigroup Center. The cathedral's pillar on the left shows the Brooklyn Bridge crumbling, cars and buses falling into the churning waters, and the Statue of Liberty sinking. Beneath this horrifying prophecy is the New York Stock Exchange, with street people selling all around it. The pillar on the right depicts the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, riding white, red, black, and pale horses that symbolize conquest, war, famine, and death. Another pillar depicts the birth of the Antichrist, who is surrounded by mummies. Below the birth is a lamb with its legs tied. The book of Revelation refers to the Antichrist as the beast, coming up out of the earth and having 2 horns like a lamb. Right below the tied lamb is a spiral vortex, symbolizing a change of consciousness. Below it are people worshiping the energy vortex of the Antichrist figure. The cathedral pillar on the left is the Jewish Kabbalah's Tree of Life. The Kabbalah is linked to the occult practices and symbolism of Freemasonry. Standing above the Kabbalistic Tree of Life is a robed man, pictured on the right. Only one eye is exposed, which symbolizes the satanic all-seeing eye. Our second stop in New York City is the United Nations headquarters, which was built in 1945 and financed largely by John D. Rockefeller. Inside UN headquarters is an ominous meditation room. The custodian of the meditation room is Lucis Trust Company. At one time, the Lucis Trust was located at 666 United Nations Plaza and was formerly named Lucifer Publishing Company. The Rockefeller-funded UN Meditation Room is 33 feet long and 18 feet wide. 18 feet is 6 plus 6 plus 6. The small, dimly lit, windowless room was built in the shape of a pyramid that is laying on its side. At the center of the room is a 4-foot-high, black, casket-shaped stone slab which weighs 6.5 tons and is extremely magnetic and rests on a concrete pillar. The pillar descends beneath the floor into the bedrock and taps into the Earth's hyperdimensional energies to induce a state of altered consciousness. Not far from the meditation room is the United Nations Security Council chamber. This is the emergency room of the UN, where the world leaders meet when there is a threat to peace. They decide the fate of nations. Even though Israel has over 200 uninspected nuclear weapons and has violated dozens of resolutions, no sanctions are ever imposed because of the United States' veto powers. Notice the giant mural that towers over the Security Council room. The central focus of the UN mural is the phoenix bird that has risen. The phoenix bird is a symbol of Lucifer. Egyptians believed that the phoenix symbolized a god who rose to heaven in the form of a morning star like Lucifer after his fire immolation of death and rebirth. Notice that the phoenix bird is not standing above his own ashes. He is standing above his old skin. Like a snake, he has shed his old skin and is revealing himself as God at the center of the mural. At the top left, there is a church steeple without a cross. The missing cross symbolizes the death of Christianity. Below, a woman receives the rays of the sun god, while the man in front of her plays Pan's flute. To their right are two pyramid symbols and people joined together by a long blue serpent-like cloth.